The quantum detection array hummed silently in the depths of lunar base Omega, its crystalline matrices processing data from the far reaches of the solar system. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the massive holographic display, her reflection ghosting across the streams of data that painted the room in shades of blue and green. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment, though the rest of humanity remained blissfully unaware of what approached through the void. Signal confirmation. Dr. Chen. Marcus Wong's voice carried across the command center, steady despite the weight of his words. Multiple objects detected crossing the Kuiper Belt boundary. Mass signatures match known Nexarian vessel configurations. Sarah's fingers danced across the neural interface panel, bringing up detailed scans of the approaching fleet. The Stellar Defense Initiative had waited for this day, planned for it since the first quantum echoes of alien civilizations reached their sensors decades ago. While the world above carried on with its daily routines, believing themselves alone in the universe, humanity's true defenders worked in secret beneath the lunar surface. How many? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The quantum predictive matrices had been modeling this scenario for months. 712 capital ships, approximately 2,000 support vessels. Marcus replied, his augmented eyes scanning through layers of data, matching exactly with the Chimera Protocol's predictions. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Chimera Protocol, her life's work, had proven itself yet again. While the rest of the scientific community focused on traditional SETI methods, searching for radio signals and optical signatures, she had pursued a different path. Quantum entanglement didn't just allow for instantaneous communication. It could detect the ripples of intelligent life across space-time itself. The massive chamber buzzed with controlled activity as dozens of technicians and scientists moved between workstations. Each was a master of their field, chosen not just for their brilliance, but for their ability to keep the greatest secret in human history. The walls, lined with quantum processors that would make the world's most advanced supercomputers, looked like pocket calculators, pulsed with soft light. Begin Phase 1 of the Quiet Shield Protocol, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying across the command center. And notify the Council. High above, in the lunar regolith, automated systems began to activate. What appeared to be simple scientific outposts and mining operations shifted, revealing their true nature. Quantum shield generators, capable of bending both space and time, powered up with barely a whisper. The first layer of Earth's true defensive network was awakening. The Council's holographic avatars materialized around the central platform, representatives from every major nation appearing in their secure quantum-encrypted forms. Unlike the political bodies that govern the surface world, this council operated in absolute secrecy, unified by the knowledge of what lurked among the stars. The Chimera Protocol's predictions were accurate, Sarah reported, gesturing to the tactical display. The Nexarian fleet matches our projections exactly. They believe they're approaching a pre-spaceflight civilization, just as we intended. Our surface facade remains intact. Councillor Zhang's avatar asked, his form flickering slightly with quantum interference. Complete deception maintained. Marcus confirmed from his station. Our quantum masking field continues to show them exactly what they expect to see. A planet just beginning to explore its solar system, with primitive chemical rockets and early-stage satellite networks. The deception had been crucial to their strategy. While humanity appeared to be taking its first tentative steps into space, the truth was far different. The International Space Station that circled overhead was a carefully maintained prop, as were the various national space programs that occasionally launched rockets into orbit. The real human presence in space was hidden behind layers of quantum technology that the Nexarians couldn't begin to comprehend. The Quiet Shield stations are all reporting optimal status. Dr. Yuki Tanaka reported from her position at the Defensive Systems Console. Quantum displacement fields are charged and ready. The entire solar system is prepared for Phase 1. Sarah nodded, watching as more data streamed across the tactical display. The approaching Nexarian fleet was exactly what their intelligence had suggested. A mid-sized conquest force, typical of their standard planetary acquisition protocol. They would be expecting to find a civilization barely able to defend itself against conventional weapons, let alone the quantum technology that humanity had developed in secret. All council members, Sarah announced, her voice carrying the weight of 2 decades of preparation. I am officially declaring Condition Oracle. As per established protocols, surface governments will remain unaware until Phase 3 is initiated. Authorization requested for full deployment of Quiet Shield assets. The council members exchanged glances through their holographic forms. They had drilled for this countless times, but the reality of alien contact, hostile contact, still carried enormous gravity. One by one, they gave their authorization, quantum signatures flashing across the secure network. Authorization granted, Dr. Chen. Council President Mbiki's avatar declared, humanity's shield is in your hands. As the council members winked out of existence, Sarah turned to her crew. Every person in the room had trained for years for this moment, knowing that they would be the first line of defense in humanity's greatest crisis. But they also knew something the approaching Nexarians didn't. Humanity had long since surpassed the level of technology their enemies would be expecting. Begin full-spectrum quantum surveillance, she ordered. I want every piece of data about their fleet composition, weapon systems, and tactical protocols. We've planned for this moment for 20 years. Let's show them why humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think beyond what others believe possible. The Nexarian fleet continued its approach, unaware that they weren't hunting primitive prey, but walking into the most sophisticated trap ever conceived. As Sarah watched the tactical display, she couldn't help but feel a mixture of pride and anticipation. Humanity had hidden its true nature for decades, waiting for this moment. They're launching long-range scanner probes, Marcus reported. Standard Nexarian First Contact Protocol. Let them see exactly what we want them to see, Sarah replied. Everything proceeds according to the Chimera Protocol. Humanity has waited in the shadows long enough. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are. As the first Nexarian probes entered the outer solar system, they transmitted exactly what their masters expected to find. A civilization barely reaching for the stars, ripe for conquest. Behind the quantum veil, humanity's true defenders prepared to teach them just how wrong they were. Admiral Kraft stood on the command deck of the Nexarian flagship Eternal Dominion, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he studied the holographic representation of the Sol system. The primitive civilization before him had no idea they had already lost. Their fate had been sealed the moment his fleet entered their system. Or so he thought. Final sensor suites confirm initial readings. Admiral, First Officer Vex reported, her cybernetic eye pulsing with data streams. Their most advanced satellites utilize primitive radio transmission. Their spacecraft rely on chemical propulsion. No energy shields detected. No quantum signatures. They are precisely as vulnerable as intelligence suggested. Kraft allowed himself a small gesture of satisfaction. A slight ripple of his throat scales that in Nexarian body language indicated pleased anticipation. This would be his 147th conquest, adding another species to the Nexarian Empire's growing collection of servant races. The humans wouldn't even know what hit them. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the Nexarian fleet's approach with calculated interest. Every move they made had been predicted by the Chimera Protocol, every scan they performed showing them exactly what humanity wanted them to see. They're launching their first wave of infiltration probes, Marcus reported, his augmented eyes tracking multiple data streams simultaneously. Standard Nexarian pre-invasion protocol. Perfect, Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across the neural interface. Initiate Echo Protocol. Let's give them a proper welcome. As the Nexarian probes entered Earth's outer atmosphere, they encountered nothing unusual, exactly as planned. They recorded television broadcasts, radio signals, and internet communications, all carefully crafted by humanity's quantum AI systems to present the image of a civilization barely stepping into the space age. Back on the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Krath reviewed the probe data with growing confidence. "Begin Phase 1 of planetary subjugation," he commanded. "Standard conquest formation. These humans won't even have time to realize they're under attack." The Nexarian fleet moved with practiced precision, spreading out into their characteristic assault pattern. Hundreds of ships, each capable of devastating a continent, positioned themselves in a deadly web around Earth. They had performed this dance countless times before, their tactics refined through centuries of conquest. "Sir," Vex called out, her cybernetic eye flickering rapidly, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from their lunar installation." "Elaborate," Kraft demanded, though his tone suggested mere curiosity rather than concern. "The energy signatures. They're not quite matching our preliminary scans. It's probably nothing, just atmospheric interference." In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. They've noticed the first quantum leak. Right on schedule. Initiate Phase 2 of the Quiet Shield. Across the solar system, hidden quantum generators began to pulse in perfect synchronization. The technology that humanity had kept hidden for decades was about to reveal itself, but not all at once. Like a master playing chess, they would show their hand one calculated move at a time. "Multiple anomalies detected," Vex suddenly announced, her voice losing its usual composure. "Energy signatures, impossible energy signatures appearing throughout the system." Kraft moved to her station, his scales darkening with concern. "Explain." "Sir, I'm detecting quantum fluctuations that couldn't exist with their level of technology. But they're gone now." "No, they're back. They're everywhere and nowhere at once." The first seeds of doubt began to creep into Kraft's mind. In nearly 2 centuries of military service, he had never encountered readings like these. But it couldn't be possible. The humans were primitive, their technology centuries behind the Nexarian Empire. "Launch the first wave of conquest drones," he ordered, pushing aside his uncertainty. Standard subjugation pattern. Thousands of automated combat drones poured from the Nexarian ships, their neural networks programmed with centuries of conquest expertise. They streaked toward Earth's atmosphere, ready to begin the standard process of technological suppression that preceded every Nexarian invasion. In the lunar base, Sarah watched the approaching drones with clinical detachment. They're following the exact attack pattern the Chimera Protocol predicted. Initiate quantum web alpha. Throughout Earth's atmosphere, microscopic quantum particles that had laid dormant for years began to activate. Invisible to conventional sensors, they formed a web of consciousness that made Earth's atmosphere itself into a weapon. The first wave of Nexarian drones hit the quantum web. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, they began to simply disappear. No explosions, no debris, no energy signatures. They simply ceased to exist. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, chaos erupted. "Impossible," Vex shouted, her cybernetic systems struggling to process what they were seeing. "All drones in the first wave are gone. Just gone. No destruction signatures, no remains, nothing." Krath's scales had darkened to a deep purple, a sign of extreme agitation in his species. "Launch the second wave. Full combat protocols. I want answers." The second wave of drones met the same fate as the first. One moment they existed, the next they didn't. It defied everything the Nexarians understood about warfare, about physics itself. In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah Chen monitored the quantum web's performance with satisfaction. "The web is functioning at optimal efficiency," she reported to the Council, their holographic forms once again gathered around her. "Phase 2 is proceeding exactly as the Chimera Protocol predicted." Their response? Counselor Zhang inquired. "Increasing confusion and aggression. Just as expected. They're about to launch their first major assault wave. That's when we'll show them the true meaning of humanity's technological advancement." Admiral Kraft stood rigid on his command deck, watching as the impossible continued to unfold before him. The civilization that should have been helpless was revealing capabilities that shouldn't exist. But he was an Nexarian admiral. Retreat was not in his vocabulary. "Prepare the main fleet for full assault," he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of Nexarian military tradition. "Whatever tricks these humans are playing, they cannot stand against the full might of the Empire." As the Nexarian fleet began to move into attack position, Sarah Chen prepared to reveal the next layer of humanity's defenses. The real show was about to begin, and the Nexarians were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity's capabilities. Commander James Torres stood at the heart of the orbital defense grid's primary control nexus, watching through quantum-enhanced sensors as the Nexarian fleet repositioned for their main assault. Unlike the hidden lunar base, his command center floated in plain sight, disguised as a commercial satellite maintenance platform. The deception had worked perfectly, until now. All quantum displacement fields are charged and synchronized. Lieutenant Maya Patel reported from her station, her neural implants pulsing softly with transferred data. "The grid is ready for full spectrum revelation." James nodded, his artificial eyes scanning multiple probability streams simultaneously. "Dr. Chen, Orbital Platform Alpha is ready for Phase 3 activation. Awaiting your command." In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah Chen received Torres's transmission with grim satisfaction. The Nexarians had reacted exactly as the Chimera Protocol had predicted. Their military doctrine was as rigid as it was predictable. Now it was time to shatter their understanding of what they were facing. "Admiral," Vex called out on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, "the human orbital platforms, they're changing." Krath watched in disbelief as the seemingly primitive human satellites began to transform. Quantum fields rippled across space, revealing the true nature of Earth's orbital defense grid. What had appeared to be simple communication satellites and maintenance platforms morphed into advanced weapon platforms that defied Nexarian understanding. "Impossible," Krath whispered, his scales shifting to a pale gray of uncertainty. "Their technology. It can't be." Multiple quantum signatures detected. Vex shouted, her cybernetic systems struggling to process the data. "Energy readings are off the charts. These aren't primitive orbital platforms. They're weapons of a type we've never encountered." The orbital defense grid shed its camouflage like a snake shedding its skin. Dozens of platforms revealed their true form, crystalline structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their surfaces rippling with quantum energy that made Nexarian sensors scream in protest. "Commence Phase 3, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying across both the lunar base and the orbital network. "Commander Torres, you may proceed with the demonstration." James allowed himself a small smile as he activated the grid's primary systems. Time to show them what humanity has been working on for the past few decades. Initialize quantum displacement field. The space between Earth and the Nexarian fleet came alive with possibilities. The quantum displacement field didn't just create a barrier, it rewrote the very rules of space-time within its influence. The first wave of Nexarian warships that attempted to push through found themselves existing in multiple states simultaneously, their advanced technology rendered useless by principles they couldn't comprehend. "Status report," Kraft demanded as his fleet's formation began to disintegrate. "Sir, we're losing ships, but not in any way we've seen before," Vex reported, her voice trembling. "They're not being destroyed. They're being redistributed across quantum states. Our weapons can't lock onto anything. Our shields are useless against whatever this is." In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah watched the Nexarian fleet's confusion with clinical interest. "The quantum displacement field is performing exactly as designed," she reported to the Council. "Their ships are finding out what happens when you try to use conventional weapons against quantum architecture." "My fellow counselors," President Beakey's hologram announced, "it appears the Chimera Protocol's predictions were perfect. The Nexarians are about to attempt their desperation gambit. As if on cue, Admiral Kraft gave the order they had been waiting for. Deploy the temporal disruptors. Full spectrum assault. I don't care what kind of technology they're using. Nothing can withstand a temporal cascade. James Torres watched as the Nexarian fleet launched their supposedly unstoppable weapon. The temporal disruptors were feared throughout known space, capable of ripping apart the fabric of time itself around their targets. Against most civilizations, they were a guarantee of victory. Quantum harmonic fields at full power, Maya reported, her hands dancing across her neural interface, ready to receive their attack. The temporal disruptors hit Earth's defensive grid, and something beautiful happened. Instead of causing destruction, the quantum harmonic fields absorbed the temporal energy, redistributing it through the quantum displacement network. The grid didn't just defend against the attack. It consumed it, grew stronger from it. In the Eternal Dominion's command center, silence fell as the impossible happened again. "Sir," Vex finally managed to speak, "they didn't just stop our temporal disruptors. They're using the energy against us. The quantum signatures around their platforms are growing stronger." Kraft's scales had turned almost white, a sign of deep distress in his species. How can they be so far beyond us? Every intelligence report, every scan showed them as primitives. Sarah Chen allowed herself a moment of pride as she watched the Nexarian fleet's disarray. Humanity learned long ago that the best defense isn't just technology. It's making your enemies underestimate you. While they watched our rocket launches and satellite deployments, we were building something they couldn't even comprehend. Multiple Nexarian vessels attempting emergency quantum jumps, Marcus reported from his station in the lunar base. Their retreat vectors are exactly as predicted by the Chimera protocol. But the retreating ships discovered another surprise. The quantum displacement field didn't just affect normal space. Their quantum jump attempts scattered their ships across multiple probability states, leaving them stranded and vulnerable. "Send the message," Sarah commanded. It's time they understood exactly what they're dealing with. Across every Nexarian communication channel, in their own language, a simple message appeared. "You have entered protected space. Your aggressive actions have been met with appropriate response. Stand down, or face the consequences of further hostile action against Earth." On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Admiral Kraft faced the greatest crisis of his centuries-long career. His fleet was in chaos. Their most powerful weapons had been turned against them, and they were facing technology that shouldn't exist for at least another 1,000 years of development. "Sir," Vex reported, her voice barely a whisper, "we're receiving transmission requests from multiple ship captains. They're requesting permission to surrender." In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah Chen prepared for the next phase of the Chimera protocol. The Nexarians were about to learn that humanity's quantum technology wasn't just for defense, and their understanding of the universe was about to change forever. Admiral Kraft stood in the wreckage of his ambitions, watching as ship after ship in his once mighty fleet signaled their surrender. But he wasn't finished yet. In his centuries of military service, he had prepared for even this unthinkable scenario. He turned to his second-in-command, scales darkening to the deep crimson of final resolve. "Initiate Protocol Omega," he commanded. "Activate the Singularity Core." Vex's cybernetic eye flickered in alarm. "Sir, the Singularity Core has never been tested in actual combat. The energy requirements alone could tear the ship apart. Better torn apart by our own weapon than humiliated by these humans." The last word came out as a snarl. "Begin the sequence." In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah Chen's quantum sensors detected the power spike immediately. "They're activating something massive," she reported to the Council. "Energy signatures are exceeding all previous measurements." "The Singularity Core," President Mbiki's hologram stated grimly. "We suspected they had one, but never confirmed it. The Chimera protocol calculated only a 12% chance they would risk using it." Sarah's fingers danced across her neural interface, ringing up simulation after simulation. The Singularity Core was the stuff of rumors, a weapon capable of creating an artificial black hole, powerful enough to consume an entire planet. If the Nexarians couldn't have Earth, they would destroy it. "Commander Torres," she called out to the orbital platform, "begin charging the quantum lattice. Full power to all nodes." James Torres acknowledged the order, his artificial eyes scanning the massive energy buildup in the Nexarian flagship. "Lieutenant Patel, redirect all available power to the lattice. We're about to see if our theories about quantum state manipulation hold up against a singularity." The space around the Eternal Dominion began to warp as the Singularity Core powered up. Light itself seemed to bend and twist, creating patterns that hurt human eyes to look at. The remaining Nexarian ships fled the area, their captains knowing what was coming. "Singularity Core at 60% charge," Vex reported, her voice trembling. "Sir, the human defensive grid, it's changing again." Around Earth, the orbital platforms began to shift once more. The crystalline structures that had seemed impossible before now began to link together, forming a lattice of pure quantum energy that encircled the planet. Each node pulsed with power that defied conventional physics. "What are they doing?" Kraft demanded, watching as the human defenses reconfigured themselves. In the lunar base, Sarah Chen initiated humanity's final countermeasure. "The quantum lattice was always our true defense," she explained to the Council. "Everything else was just preparation for this moment. Begin quantum state inversion." The lattice hummed with power as it prepared to do something that the Nexarians had thought impossible: manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. The quantum technology that humanity had developed in secret wasn't just advanced. It operated on principles that redefined what was possible. "Singularity Core at 90% charge," Vex announced. "Point of no return in 30 seconds." Kraft watched with grim satisfaction as his ultimate weapon prepared to fire. Let the humans try to defend against this. No technology, no matter how advanced, could stop a manufactured black hole. But he had underestimated humanity one final time. "Quantum lattice at full power," James Torres reported from the orbital platform. "Ready to initiate state inversion on your mark, Dr. Chen." Sarah took a deep breath, knowing that what they were about to attempt had never been done before. The simulations had shown it was possible, but this would be the first real test. "Begin inversion sequence." The quantum lattice blazed with impossible light as it began its work. Instead of trying to stop the Singularity Core's energy, it began to invert the quantum states of space-time itself around the Nexarian flagship. "Sir," Vex's voice rose in panic. "Something's happening to the core's containment field. The quantum readings, they're inverting somehow." Kraft watched in horror as his ultimate weapon began to turn in upon itself. The singularity was forming, but not where he had intended. The quantum lattice had created a bubble of inverted spacetime around his ship, containing and redirecting the black hole's formation. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as reality itself seemed to fold around his vessel. In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah monitored the quantum readings with intense focus. "The inversion field is stable," she reported. "The singularity is forming within contained space. Their own weapon is being used to create a quantum prison around their ship." The Eternal Dominion found itself trapped in a bubble of warped spacetime, the very weapon they had intended to use against Earth now serving as their cage. The Singularity Core's energy, caught in the quantum inversion field, created a perfect prison, one from which even light couldn't escape. "Status report on the Nexarian flagship," President Makey demanded. "Contained," Sarah replied. "The quantum prison is stable. They're trapped in a loop of their own warped spacetime. They can't escape, but they're not being destroyed. We turned their ultimate weapon into their ultimate prison." On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Admiral Kraft finally understood the full magnitude of his mistake. The humans hadn't just surpassed Nexarian technology. They had reimagined what technology could do. His ship, his crew, and his ambitions were now trapped in a prison of his own making, held there by human ingenuity. "Send the final message," Sarah commanded. As the remaining Nexarian fleet watched in horror, their flagship suspended in a bubble of twisted space-time, humanity's message was broadcast one last time. Your leadership is contained. Your weapon is neutralized. Choose your next actions carefully. Earth awaits your response. The quantum prison containing the eternal dominion hung in space like a frozen tear in reality, a testament to humanity's mastery over forces the Nexarians had thought beyond control. In the 3 days since its creation, the remaining Nexarian fleet had maintained a respectful distance, their weapons powered down, their communications restricted to desperate requests for negotiation. Sarah Chen stood in the newly revealed diplomatic chamber of Lunar Base Omega, watching as the Nexarian delegation materialized on the quantum transport pad. The 7-foot-tall scaled beings moved with careful precision, their normally proud bearing tempered by recent events. "Welcome to Earth's moon," she said, speaking through the quantum translation field. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen, director of the Stellar Defense Initiative." The lead delegate, Fleet Commander Xar, inclined his head slightly. "We come seeking understanding," he said, his scales shifting through patterns of submission and confusion. "Our entire civilization's understanding of technological progression has been challenged." In orbit, Commander James Torres watched from the now fully revealed orbital defense grid as more Nexarian ships arrived. Not warships this time, but diplomatic vessels. The quantum lattice remained active, a gentle reminder of Earth's capabilities. The quantum prison remained stable, Lieutenant Puddle reported. "The Eternal Dominion's crew is in stasis, exactly as planned. Admiral Kraft's vital signs are normal." The Council had gathered in person for the first time in decades, their physical presence required for what would become a historic moment in human history. President Mickey stood beside Sarah, his aged face carrying the weight of humanity's future. "You believed us primitive," Sarah addressed the Nexarian delegation. "It was a deception we maintained carefully, knowing this day would come. Not just for you, but for any species that might have hostile intentions toward Earth." Har's auxiliary breathing slits fluttered, a sign of deep emotional disturbance in his species. "The quantum technology you possess, our scientists say it shouldn't be possible for centuries, even millennia. The way you contained the singularity core alone. Humanity learned long ago that apparent technological progression doesn't always follow a linear path," Sarah explained. "While we made a show of chemical rockets and radio communications, we were exploring quantum mechanics on a level your scientists haven't yet imagined." The diplomatic chamber's walls shifted, becoming transparent to reveal the lunar surface and Earth hanging in the black sky beyond. The quantum technology that powered the base didn't just defend. It could reshape reality on a whim. "The Chimera Protocol," Sarah continued, "wasn't just a defense system. It was a wake-up call for the galaxy, a demonstration that humanity wouldn't be an easy conquest for any civilization." In the quantum prison, Admiral Kraft watched through specially provided quantum feeds as his civilization's understanding of the galaxy shifted. The humans weren't just showing mercy by keeping him alive. They were making him witness the dawn of a new era. "We offer terms." President Mickey stepped forward. "Earth is willing to share some of our quantum technology, under strict conditions. We have no interest in conquest or domination. We seek only to ensure peace and foster understanding between our species." The Nexarian delegation exchanged glances, their scales shifting through patterns of amazement and cautious hope. "The Empire has never negotiated from this position before," Xar admitted, "but we have never encountered anything like your quantum technology." Sarah gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing the quantum lattice that now openly protected Earth. "This is only the beginning of what we can do. The question is, are you ready to learn?" The next several hours were filled with detailed negotiations. The Nexarians learned that humanity's quantum technology could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production. But more importantly, they learned why humans had chosen to hide their true capabilities for so long. We knew that revealing our technology too soon would lead to conflict, Sarah explained. By appearing primitive, we could prepare, observe, and understand the civilizations around us. The Chimera Protocol wasn't just about defense, it was about choosing the right moment for first contact. As the negotiations concluded, a new era of galactic politics was born. The quantum prison containing the Eternal Dominion would remain as a monument and reminder, though its crew would be released to face justice under new joint human-Nexarian laws. In the Lunar Command Center, Sarah watched as the Nexarian diplomatic vessels departed, their engines now incorporating the first shared pieces of quantum technology. A gesture of good faith from humanity. The Chimera Protocol exceeded all expectations, Marcus reported, his augmented eyes scanning the final data streams. Every prediction, every planned response worked perfectly. Sarah nodded, but her mind was already moving forward. The revelation of Earth's true capabilities would send shockwaves through the galaxy. Other civilizations would come, some seeking knowledge, others perhaps still hoping to prove themselves superior. Begin Phase 1 of the Stellar Integration Protocol, she commanded. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can really do when we work together with other species. The quantum lattice pulsed with new energy, its network expanding beyond Earth's orbit. Humanity had hidden in the shadows, preparing for this moment. Now they would step into the light, not as conquerors, but as teachers and guardians of a new age of galactic cooperation. In his quantum prison, Admiral Kraft watched as his empire's diplomatic vessels departed Earth's space. He had come seeking an easy conquest, and instead had witnessed the birth of a new era. The humans had not just defeated his fleet, they had changed the very nature of galactic civilization. As Sarah Chen looked out at the stars, she smiled. The age of hiding was over. Now began humanity's true journey into the cosmos, armed not just with advanced technology, but with the wisdom to use it properly. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had planned all along.